Okay, this is the introduction for lab number 15, and we're going to be measuring density. And we're going to be going to a different website. We're going to SimBucket. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to turn the fluid that we're going to be playing with into water. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a whole bunch of different materials here, and we're going to dunk them into the water, and we're just going to measure if they sink or float. And what we can do is we can measure the mass of all of these objects, and we can also measure the volume of each of these objects. Some of them you may need to hold under the water, but you're just going to observe how much the water is displaced by, and realize that 1 cubic centimeter is equal to 1 milliliter, and get their volume. Then what we can kind of do is we can calculate their density. We know that the density of an object is going to be equal to its mass divided by its volume, and we've measured the mass, we've measured the volume, so we can fill that little table right there out. And then I just say, okay, well, let's talk about the floaters and the sinkers. So is this guy going to float or is it going to sink? Why is that? Well, let's take a look at the density of gold, let's take a look at the density of water, and we're going to do this for all of them. Then what I have you do is I just have you play around with the density of the fluid, and if you were to increase it to that number right there, which objects would float, which ones, pretty much which objects would float. So let's go ahead and pop open the simulation. So I've popped it open right here. Very first thing, I want to turn this fluid into water. You can kind of see that the density is 1 gram per milliliter. So I'm going to first pop open my little gold object, and this gold is going to sink. And so what I can do is I can come over here and I can measure the mass of it. I see the initial volume is 25.5. I drop that in there, I take the difference, and then I know the volume of the object. Now a couple of these objects, like the wood object, it's going to float, and when you go ahead and you measure the volume of it, make sure it's when it's completely submerged. So when it's just kind of sitting when it's sitting at the very, very tippy top of the surface, kind of like this, that's not what you want to have. You want to go ahead and you want to hold this foam underneath the water to make the volume measurement.